Hi, welcome to YouTube fishing. So, like I always say, thanks for tapping or clicking on this video. I'm out walking the dog right now, and I figured this would be a good time to do a quick introduction. But if you probably haven't, it doesn't have many views. If you catch my recent video on the Tennessee Angler Recognition Program, I stumbled across some information there, specifically a PDF document. This is really shaky, sorry about that. A PDF document with all of the Tennessee Angler Recognition Program entries. So that's all of the fish that met the criteria to be considered like a trophy size fish. And it's in a PDF document, and in the video I said that maybe I should just take all this data and do something with it. And really I did. I stayed up at night and did it. And I've thought about releasing or not making this video, but a couple of things here. There's over 7,000 entries on this spreadsheet. And well, it was a PDF, but for my job, I do a lot of, what are you doing? I do a lot of taking large quantities of data, analyzing, grouping, making it more usable. And she's about to hit the end of the leash. There she goes. So using some Excel trickery, I would say expertise, I guess, but I don't want to come across as an expert. There's a lot I still don't know. I was able to pull that information from the PDF into Excel, run a few pivot tables, and come up with what I'm about to show you. And the reason I said that I may or may not make the video is that I'm worried it will put more pressure on certain bodies of water. But then I'm thinking realistically here, these are pretty big fish. And obviously I don't have the viewership that I don't think it's gonna make a big dent. I just want to share the information. But also, I don't think that these bodies of water I'm gonna talk about lend themselves, so you're just gonna go out there and catch a big fish every time you go or anything. So I don't think there's too much of a risk of that. So I'm gonna share it. And I'm gonna find a way to share the raw data with you guys as well. Probably gonna put a link down in the description. But let me know what you think about this. This is the raw information. So it's a PDF, and I import that into Excel. If you notice, I'm at Google Sheets now, just so it's easier to share and show in a screen share. But this is the raw data, so nothing modified. The only thing I did was move the names. I don't know if that's really important or not, but you can see there's a lot of information here. So actually I have this sorted down by like black crappie on this one. But let's go to largemouth bass. I'm going to focus on species that are more than likely, I would say, more common for people who are watching my channel, just because I do typically mostly bass fish. So we're going to start with some largemouth bass information. So this is the largemouth information. And if you notice up here, I've got it sorted out by body of water. So something I did to try to help this out a little bit and help us interpret this a little better is I have this broken down by body of water and the number of fish that were caught in each body of water. So this is just largemouth. And if we want to go up here and say, let's sort, it should be sorted A to Z right now. Let's actually sort this. Here we go. So grand total of 688 largemouth bass in here. No surprise, Chickamauga has 52 of these, which is the most. And then we've got private pond. Probably just disregard that one unless you're one of the lucky people that has a private pond with these massive bass. Just a reminder, largemouth bass is a 22-inch minimum to be on this list. And then Kentucky Lake, for all of the bad press that it gets because of the Asian or silver carp, it actually is still doing pretty good. It's got 40 fish on here. And let me just unpack this a little bit for you. So they started this list, and the oldest entry is 1972. But then there's a big gap and it jumps up to 2003. And this data stops at the year 2020. Like if I were to, unfilter everything and go down, you'll see that the newest fish on here is 2020. So
there's a few years missing here, and that made me think about Kentucky Lake in terms of maybe it's not as good as it was. But between 2003-ish and 2020, there was still the second most of any public body of water. It's a giant lake, so that may also play a little bit into this. But then Watts Bar is here. Nick and Jack surprised me to be up here. Private Lake, once again, kind of falling in there. Chickamauga Reservoir. I think they'd have some consistency issues with, you notice I hear Chickamauga Reservoir again. And so Chickamauga really is blowing everything else away. But, and the reason I had it sort of differently a moment ago was so we could see that these aren't all accurate. But what I took from this data, more interestingly, I think, than, and there's Watts Bar again with 2 more catches, is some of the places that some people had some really fun days where you catch a 20-incher or 22-inch largemouth on some of these places like Salty Creek. So 22-inch largemouth in a creek. Maybe this is a creek that comes into Chickamauga, and they just listed it as Salty Creek. But still, if that is a creek that I'm thinking of, that's pretty amazing. You notice Norris is on here. The Little Pigeon River, 22-inch largemouth in the Little Pigeon River. For those of you who are familiar with some of these places, drop a comment. One of these surprise you, or if you want some more information here, I can break this down a little further. I don't know where some of these places are. But regardless, I found this very interesting, especially at Fort Loudon Reservoir. It shows 2. So let's go up here and sort this. Let's go Z to A. We'll go backwards. And Fort Loudon Reservoir, Fort Loudon. So we've got 3 of those here. That's 9 total fish. So 9 total 22-inch largemouth reported at Fort Loudon. I feel like that's low. But, and Guntersville's on here too, but I don't think that even comes close to the Tennessee line, so that's a little weird. Well, let's move on. So we've got our smallmouth raw data here. And it actually has county in there as well. But here is the bodies of water, and here is broken down by body of water. Del Hollow leading the way. And the smallmouth, they have a 20-inch minimum to be on this list, so a little bit smaller. But 1,237 entries. And then if you go back to the largemouth, we're going to go up here and say Z to A. Actually, I keep doing that wrong. 688, so almost twice as many smallmouth have been reported to the program. So Del Hollow, number 1. So you kind of see some flip-flop here. Norris did not have very many on the largemouth list. Watts Bar, though, this is something I'm pulling away just as we're talking about this. Very surprising. Very high on both species lists. Cherokee, not anything surprising there, and Chickamauga. So Chickamauga and Watts Bar right next to each other in the Tennessee River Valley have great bass in both the largemouth and smallmouth area, or species. Pigeon River, I love seeing the Pigeon River on here. For those of you who don't know, back in the 90s, the Pigeon River was a complete water desert due to a paper company polluting, and literally there was no fish in the river. But now there's 28 20-inch plus smallmouth have been caught in that river. French Broad, I feel like it's a little low, but I don't think, like I said, I don't think everybody reports on all of these. So there's probably more caught here than what's showing, and it goes for all of these. But Fort Loudon at 12. Watts Bar again, just different name, different way they listed it. Cherokee again. Douglas was much higher on largemouth than smallmouth. So that kind of goes along too with what our expectations are for us local guys here. But Kentucky, Watts Bar again. Let's go find that surprising body of water. So I would expect Tellico to be higher than that, just from my experience. Norris also, Little Tennessee River. Here's Fort Loudon again with a different name, Cherokee again. Calf Killer River out near Cookeville. Not as many surprises here. I guess I just expect smallmouth to be everywhere in Tennessee. I also went into spotted bass, and these are often misidentified as largemouth, so I don't know how accurate this is going to be. Just my opinion. I think maybe some of these, and I don't know how picky TWRA is when you send that picture in, if they're going to come back and say, no, that's a spot or a largemouth. But let's go break this down by body of water, and we need to not have that going on. So grand total of 136, and Parksville Lake has 20 of those. Percentage-wise, that's really big compared to some of the other fish species. Chickamauga, again, here with 9. Westbar with 6. Kentucky Lake's up there. Chickamauga and Westbar are consistently just where the fish seem to live. We got Farm Pond, Private Pond, but Nick Jackson here. Going down here to the bottom, there's Westbar again, but Tim's Ford, Tellico. I don't know where Red River is. The Pigeon River having a spotted bass caught in it. I didn't know there was spotted bass there, but also, one of trophy size. And these are 18-inch is the minimum for spots. And then lastly, I will talk about crappie. Crappie's huge following for fishing everywhere, but here in Tennessee. And I wanted to go over here and again talk about, look at that, 490 crappie, minimum 14 inches. Black and white are mixed here. But Chickamauga, Westbar, Nickajack, Kentucky Lake. So I think it's pretty safe to say there's a handful of reservoirs or lakes in our area that really are just a step above a lot of the other lakes. And I mean, of course, Westbar's huge. Chickamauga's pretty big. Kentucky Lake's obviously one of the biggest lakes in the eastern United States, and outside of the Great Lakes at least. Norris is another huge lake, not as high of a percentage of large fish being caught there, doesn't seem like. Cherokee, another large reservoir. So we just have some large reservoirs here, but I would say by acre, fish per acre, Chickamauga and Westbar are really the ones that are the heavy hitters in all of the species that we've talked about. So let me know what you all think about this information. And like I said, I want to try to find a place to share it.
So again, thanks for watching and hanging out with me for a little bit and going through this data. Let me know if there's something that you saw that you want to talk about, or if you want to learn a little more about it, just drop a comment and I'll be glad to chat about it and maybe make a follow-up. Thanks.